हाय गाइस, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल। सो पिछली बार से हमारे पास कुछ अपग्रेडेशंस आ गए हैं, जैसा आप लोगों ने देखा होगा। एंड आई एम ट्राइंग टू इम्प्रूव ओवरऑल सेटअप एंड आई थिंक इन फ्यू डेज आई एम गोना इम्प्रूव द कैमरा क्वालिटी ऑल्सो। बट टिल देन आई बिलीव I'm gonna do some content changes and I'm gonna try to create good content. So here we are, right? And today's video is a part 2 for Plague of Subjective Morality. सो ये वीडियो उतनी स्क्रिप्टेड नहीं है जितनी पिछले वाली थी, बिकॉज लास्ट वीडियो पुट अ लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रेन इन मी एंड दैट वॉज नॉट वेरी इफेक्टिव. सो टुडे आई एम जस्ट गोना डू इट raw dog, so to speak. So the first thing I have to make it clear is that most of the people think morality is either moral and non-moral. A person can be moral or person can be immoral. यानी एक इंसान एक अच्छा इंसान हो सकता है, फिर एक इंसान एक खराब इंसान हो सकता है. पर अगर हम ध्यान से देखा जाए तो कोई भी चीज़ें ऐसी होती नहीं है. ध्यान से देखा जाए तो हम लोग एज अ सोसाइटी हम लोग ये चीज़ समझ चुके हैं कि देर आर सम ग्रे एरियाज ऑन हाउ पर्सन ऑपरेट्स. बट द थिंग इज़ व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ पर्सन वी आर अनएबल टू सी दैट. वॉट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इज़ दैट समटाइम्स एक इंसान जो है वो हो सकता है कभी ज़्यादा मॉरल हो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में. एज अ इंसान हो सकता है वो कभी ज़्यादा इमोरल हो एक कोई पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में. एंड दोज आर द मिस्टेक्स वी मेक एज अ ह्यूमन. दिस इज समथिंग आई एम प्रपोजिंग as something called yin yang. So yin yang is something of perfect balance, right? We need to balance things out. Yin yang, if you don't know, is a is Buddhist symbol, I believe. It's a Buddhist symbol which shows a little black inside white and a little white inside black. If you look at one, very good characters in movies and etc., sometimes a very good well-written evil has a flint of goodness inside it. And contrary to that, not contrary, similarly to that, heroes, a very well-written heroes, have a flint of darkness inside them, a flint of evil inside them. Tony Stark had his ginormous ego, and Thanos had his, idea to save the world. He wanted to liberate world, but the only way he could have thought that was by destruction. And Avengers and many people in this world believed against what Thanos believed. So this is something we have to understand. As a human being, you have to understand there are going to be times where you're going to be immoral. There are going to be times where you're going to be very moral. But as a person, it's your responsibility to maximize the morality inside you and be less tamed by the evil. And don't think that you have to be all good because of it. Morality and immorality is sort of like a thing, okay? So, जो immoral side आपका, it protects you from dangers. Because if you really want to protect everyone in this world, you have to understand one thing. What if their situation is a result of their actions? What if this is what they did to themselves? It wasn't like, oh, they were wronged by some people. Maybe what happened to them, they had it coming. This is something you have to understand, and this is something Jordan B. Peterson talks about in his very wonderful book, 12 Rules of Life. So you have to understand that. And I think, this is my proposed solution, I think the immorality compass that makes you a little evil is actually there to guide you towards these things. Maybe when you want to do wrong things, those are just indication what are some things you should not do. Those are intrusive thoughts, right? That is our intrusive thoughts. And maybe evil is just like that. Maybe immorality which we have in ourselves is we have to just recognize them and not act upon it. And maybe those are the danger alerts we get. So one of the things there are some universal, as I said in previous video early on, that there are some universal truths. So how should we do that? How should we figure out कि कौन सी चीज़ें universal truths हैं? So what I have found in my experience of studying history is that there are some changes which are very radical, and there are some changes which are very not radical. And sometimes those radical changes are very moral, and sometimes those radical changes are immoral. This is what makes the change so difficult to acknowledge and change to get hand on to other people. So ध्यान से देखा जाए तो मैं बोल क्या रहा हूँ ये है कि एज अ सोसाइटी हम लोग चूतिया नहीं हैं. एज अ सोसाइटी हम लोग सिर्फ स्लो हैं. मोरालिटी हैज़ हिज ओन ईगो, राइट. अगर कोई तुमको बोले कि भाई देख तूने आज तक ज़िंदगी में जितना भी काम किया है वो सब इमोरल है, अब मैं अमरनाथ पांडे तेरे को बताऊंगा कि क्या सब कुछ कैसे सब कुछ सही किया जा सकता है. दैट्स वहाँ पर ईगो आता है, क्योंकि तुमने आज तक जितना भी कुछ किया अगर वो सब कुछ गलत था तो इसका मतलब है कि तुम इनकॉम्पिटेंट हो. पर धीरे धीरे लोग समझते हैं, राइट. धीरे धीरे लोग समझते हैं. तो सोसाइटी में आइडियोलॉजीज प्रोपगेट करने के लिए टाइम लेते हैं. दिस इज द रीज़न ह्यूमन्स आर लिटिल स्लो, नॉट स्टूपिड. बिकॉज इफ वी वर the best argument that why people are not stupid is because society, this gigantic machine that we are running very efficiently every day to day, you don't even think about how your electricity works. You don't even think how your electricities are made. You don't think about how sewer lines are made. This intricate system which just works. And the fact that it's growing day by day, the fact that we are evolving as a society is just a sign of brilliance, in my opinion. So a little optimistic approach to people helps a lot. And when do we know that a person has really discovered morality? I think when morality does not destroy inheritance, if it does not destroy inheritance, and if it does not make something inherently evil, that is time when I think things are good. So for example, I'm telling you, agar there are some examples contrary to this supposition, but I'm going to tell you few examples. अगर कोई इंसान अगर कहे कि ग्रुप ए के सारे लोग जिंदा होते हैं लोगों को मारने के लिए, that's why they are inherently evil and we should all kill them. This is something very stupid. And this is something very stupid because this is ideology of tyranny. And how will we understand that these things are stupid is by discussion of philosophy, is by the discussion of morality, ethics, and just thinking about things, thinking things through and studying history. This is what makes these things come to light. And there are some cases like sati pratha. जब सती प्रथा चालू हुई थी तो उसके बाद से this is one of the things Britishers did right in India. They killed sati pratha, which is very good. So the sati pratha was an immoral heritage, I believe, and which was destroyed. And how do we find that? If a heritage is hurting someone, okay, if we are if our actions and if an ideology is minimizes the pain and suffering of someone, maybe that is a good ideology. But then we will have these ideas which just stops growing people, right? कि अगर हम लोग देखेंगे idea of कि okay, you cannot ask offensive questions, then it becomes very interesting. कि भाई एक जगह पे जो नए आइडियाज़ अच्छे तभी हो सकते हैं जब वो किसी का पेन मिनिमाइज कर रहे हैं. एंड देन देयर इज़ एन आइडियोलॉजी कि यू कैन नॉट आस्क क्वेश्चंस बिकॉज दोज आर ऑफेंसिव. बट इट माइट सीम राइट टू सम पीपल एंड आई कैन एम्पथाइज विद देम, बट दे रियली नीड टू थिंक थ्रू इट डीपली इनफ, बिकॉज ऑल देयर is just that truth liberates you. And asking offensive question is what makes truth to come to light. So this philosophy of asking harsh questions and answering them with best of your abilities might seem little overwhelming and a little, how should I put it? I think the best way to put it is just harsh. And this harsh feedback of questions and answer might seem a little evil to some people, but this is what liberates people. This is what has liberated dynasties. This is what has liberated Plato, Socrates, and Alexander. I'm not saying Alexander was a good person, but this is what has happened. Even in India, if you think about it, Hindutva is an ideology which I'm going to make another video on. But right now I'm going to make this video is very different. जो सनातन धर्म था, it technically was a very this dharma had its own philosophical structures. There were people who believed in Bhagavan, and there were people who didn't believe in Bhagavan. The concept of Bhagavan, of course. And if Bhagavan exists or not, I don't really know. I don't really care if it does. But the fact that these literatures have so beautiful teachings about it, I think those teachings are more Bhagavan than the concept of Bhagavan to me. So, the fact that these people existed and they coexisted in the same society and called themselves Sanatan is what makes Hindutva wrong in certain scenarios, and also which makes Sanatan Dharma a philosophical structure in which people lived happily. So, all I'm saying is that we cannot define a framework on what is moral. We cannot define a framework on how you should operate in the society, but what we can do is we can just let our brains do their job, which is identify the patterns. We can have a talk, we can have discussions, we can have liberating evil and the talks which might seem very, very full of miseries to some people, which seems very difficult, which actually destroys people and their ideologies. And maybe this is all. Maybe this is all there is. Just talk. Maybe this is what actually exposure therapy is. You talk about things. You expose people to the difficulty of their lives. This is what couple therapy is. You allow them to talk. That is all there is. You allow them to have a discussion in a well-settled area where they cannot kill themselves. You allow themselves to have a talk, a real talk, in which they are both open to new ideas, in which they both open to making mistakes. And this is what I think philosophical discussion should be like. This is what political discussion should be like. And I really believe, as a humans, we are destined to be this creature. We are inherently destined to be some person who talks, because we like to talk, right? Sometimes we talk about how our friends are screwing up their life. We might sometimes talk about how someone is in a relationship with someone ugly. But these things makes us human. Humans are inherently creative creatures and we like to create things. Maybe it's time we created a better framework to discuss, not a better framework to judge people. Not a framework to judge morality, but a framework to discuss things. And that is what I'm trying to provide from these videos. A discussion where we can liberate each other. Thank you very much for listening to me. And if you liked this video, please subscribe and tell me what you think. Till then, bye-bye.